Hello chess family, it's me National Master Jesse James, and today I go over my game playing against one of Louisiana's strongest chess players, that is Jude Acers. I'm not sure if you consider him a hustler, just a strong player in general. This guy likes to hang out in the French Quarter in New Orleans. I was there on a fun trip with my girlfriend, and well, you know me, I had to go play some chess, so I had to hunt down the very famous and local player, Jude Acers. And we played a game. I'm going over one of two. The second one was a blitz game. This one was just a regular game, and I only played him 2 games just because this game lasted an hour and a half. I ended up offering a draw halfway through. I think it was around a drawn position, but yeah, he responded, I wouldn't take a draw in 1,000 years, which I really respect. And well, this is my game against him. For those who have gone over to New Orleans, you probably have met him and played him lots of games. I wouldn't be surprised if he lost. I was very happy to beat him in these games. So well, let's go and take a look at this one. In the draw, I was able to get the white pieces, so I went ahead and played e4. He played d5. I didn't know he was a Scandinavian player. The best way to get an advantage is to take queen takes, knight c3, developing and attacking the queen. Queen to d6. This is one of the 2 main variations in this one. Typically, the queen can go to a5 here also, but he played the d6 variation, d4, knight f6, bishop c4, and a6 here. A nice little move here, trying to threaten pawn to b5. At this point, I actually do know this variation, but I just didn't think of it. And I ended up playing this move, knight g to e2, which, you know, one of the reasons why you play this is because if you go knight f3, they play bishop g4, and this is a little annoying because they can take on f3 and the d4 pawn becomes weak, and yeah, things are not to my liking. So, I mean, I haven't really studied this line too often, so I just played knight g e2, and already I drop a pawn. Jude is a killer. He played queen c6, double attacking the bishop and the pawn here on g2. I played over here queen to d3, a very similar idea I do in other lines. He took on g2, and I played rook to g1. The idea here for me is that, well, if he takes on h2, I'll play bishop f4, and I'll snack attack the pawn over here on c7, and I got actually a very active position. He went ahead and played queen c6 back. I was very surprised to see that. d5, queen over to d7. This is a strange looking move, but I guess he didn't like either move of d6 or b6, as the bishop can be developed and harass the queen again. So queen to d7 got played, bishop over to g5. I mean, as far as computers saying, have a slight advantage here, which is not too bad for being down a pawn. And I mean, I know I liked my position. Although I did lose a pawn, I have a very active position here. And one of the ways to beat the Scandinavian is by piece play and trying to open up the position, so making pawn trades. He played b5 here, bishop back to b3, and he played a move I missed, and I was sad to see, pawn to c5. A move I definitely do not like here, and I was not too happy because I knew I was going to have to trade my queens here. And, well, the idea is very simple. Pawn to c4 is going to either trap the bishop or fork the queen and the bishop. So here I went ahead and took on c6, and this just brings me down to a bad endgame. Again, I want to keep the attack going since I am down a pawn, but now he was able to trade queens. I have an isolated pawn over here, and he won back his pawn. Again, I still do have active position here as far as my pieces being out, so it wasn't too sad. And you know me, I'm not going to give up just because I don't like my position. You got to keep pushing on in these types of positions. Went ahead and played rook to c1. And by the way, at this point, he is now up that full pawn at negative 1.5, so I definitely have to fight back in this position. Knight to e5, a nice move, attacking d3, f3 over here. Here we go, rook to g3, covering both. Bishop b7, bishop takes, pawn takes, bishop d5. Yeah, this is done so that I mess up the pawn structure a little bit, but also the bishop has a hard time getting out over here as g7 is weak with the rook here. And, well, he went ahead and played rook to b8. I was hoping he'd take and give me some activity, but he's too smart for that. Bishop takes, rook takes, pawn to d4. Here I'm just trying to kick him back and take advantage again of the king in the center. If I can get a rook check in here, I might be able to get a good game out of this. All right, knight c4, b3. Knight over to b6, knight to e4. Bishop b4 check, good move. King to f1, and here, unfortunately, he did not play the best move. He went ahead and castled here. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe this was the best move. Computer is saying that this is what to play. But here the problem with castling right away is knight takes on f6 check because of the pin. So I just win my pawn back, and now I think I just have a better position as far as the piece placement. All right, here we go. King over to h8. Knight comes back. Pawn to f5. A nice move here. Kicking the knight, although I think maybe he was a little too aggressive here. Knight to c5 here, a nice move attacking the rook and the pawn over here. And, well, he went ahead and took here, which I was very happy to see. At this point, I am able to grab the advantage. Why? Well, after pawn takes on c5 here, now I got to pass pawn. All right, here we go. Knight over to d5, rook to d3, rook over to b4. Knight over to b4, attacking the rook and the pawn. Here I played a nice little tricky move. At this point, we've pretty much slowed down. At first, we were both playing fast, but now the game is taking a lot longer per move. Rook d4 here, and hopefully no one takes the pawn here on a2. I know Jude did not, as rook c2 just traps the knight. Of course, he doesn't fall for these kind of little traps. He just played pawn e5, defending the knight. a3, knight c6, rook to d6. You can now see that I'm slowly pushing forward here because I have this passed pawn over here, and my pieces are well coordinated now. Rook over to c7, knight to f4. The idea is to bring the knight to d5 here. I'm trying to win the squares in front of this pawn moving forward, but this move also comes with a simple threat of knight to e6. He played rook c8, and here I knew I had a good advantage, but I was not able to win the piece here as I thought it was. After sitting and calculating for quite a while, I played knight to d5, rook f7, and rook to e1 here. Now you can play knight over to b6 here, but it doesn't do anything much as the rook can just come to c7. I mean, if I want to, I could take a draw, but why play for a draw in this type of position? Rook e1, now threatening knight b6, rook takes on c6 as the back rank happens. Of course, Jude sees this simple combination, plays pawn to g5, knight b6 attacking the rook, rook c7, and here I miscalculated and missed a way to win the knight here. Feel free to push pause if you can figure out how to win it. All right, at this point, I did make that mistake, and, well, I played rook to e8 check, king to g7, and then I played the move knight to d5, and this is not the best way to move forward. As I missed, he played rook to d7. I saw that the rook was going to have to move off this file, which means the knight's unprotected, but now after rook d7, I can't take without them taking back here on d5. Apparently the move here was to play here you're supposed to play knight to a8, attacking this rook over here, which is pretty amazing. If you try to play something like rook over to a7 now, well, now you got too many problems with this passed pawn. Rook takes on c6, and you can't take back because, well, the rook is just defending the knight, right? And so rook to d7 can get played, and rook takes on c6, and there's not enough checks in the back here. Again, I missed this, and I just played my knight back. I'm sorry. I went ahead and played the knight over here to b6. I couldn't figure it out. At this point, I lost all my advantage, and the game is about even. For quite a while, the game just kind of moves forward, but no progress really gets made. Takes, rook over to b7, pawn to d7 here. I knew this was not working, but I saw it was the only way to keep moving forward without getting into a bad position. Rook takes on b6, rook e6. The idea being that I want to play rook takes on c6 now. He played the right move, of course. He played rook b7, rook takes on c6, rook takes on d7, rook c5. So I lost the pawn, but I was hoping to win back my pawn now. And this is what I was just like, yeah, this is pretty much a draw. I'm just kind of playing on for a little while. King f6, rook takes. I was surprised he let me take this pawn. I thought defending this pawn would be better, but it still says the position's dead even. I do have some chances. Maybe I'll try to get a passed pawn here, but he says no. Plays pawn to a4, and I'm like, oh, you can't play b4 here, as now rook to d3 will win back the pawn. And yeah, it's just going to be maybe even a little bit better here for black now. So I play king e2 to stop rook to d3. Pawn takes, rook takes. Now, I might have an advantage here, but this is not something that's going to be easy. I have to play a4, and then I have to play rook to a3. Get the rook behind the passed pawn, right? Well, here, all you have to do is play rook a7. So I did figure out one of his weaknesses is the endgame, as he starts making some inaccuracies here. He went ahead and played g4, which I was happy. I was able to play h3. Here I want to trade off one set of pawns here because I don't want him to create a passed pawn by himself. He played king g5, and now I don't miss my opportunity. Pawn takes, a4. Now my rook can go to a3, and even though he's going to get these passed pawns, my king can hold it off. His rook can't come down here, or else this passed pawn will run. Now I played his rook over to a7, rook over to a3. This rook does a good job of defending the pawn, but also cutting the king off. And this is actually one of the points where I was just like, okay, it's now going to be a draw. Rook over, pawn up, pawn up, king over, king f4. At this point, I did offer him a draw, as I didn't see any way for us to make progress. For instance, all he would have to do is really shuffle his king around, and, well, all I do is shuffle my king around. Again, he can't cut through because of this rook. And this rook doesn't want to move, so you just want to move your king back. If you move this rook anywhere, the pawn just simply keeps advancing. And if I just get one more pawn up, I can probably get a little advantage of that. To win, I'm not too sure, but still a nice advantage. All right, here we go. King g2, king over, and king h2. Oh, by the way, when I did offer the draw, that's when he said I wouldn't take a draw in 1,000 years, and I really respect that. Although unfortunately for him, he pushed too hard in this position and then unfortunately loses. King over. So now his plan is to run his king all the way over here and win this pawn. And I only have one good idea here. After king g2, king c4, what do you play here as white? This was the only move I saw to try to create some kind of counterplay. But if you push pause and try to figure it out, here you play pawn to f3. The idea is to go ahead and at least trade off one of these pawns so I can win the other one. And yeah, after king over, rook takes, it should be a draw. Well, Jude does not want that draw. g3, f4. And the idea here is, well, g3 definitely is playing for the win. And typically we have the pass pawn rule, meaning if you trade off the rooks here and it's just a king and pawn endgame, I lose. I can never take this pawn as this other pawn will run. So this g3 move does make sense. But here we'll see a nice little resource I have. Pawn to f4, king to b4, and now rook to a1. And here this was the idea. By playing the pawn to f4 over here, he cannot take on a4, as then I win by just pushing my passed pawn. Here we go, rook takes, king takes. My pawn push wins the game easily. So we can't trade off the rooks anymore. So here we played king to b3, again pushing too hard. And now I realize I have an advantage. Rook over to a4. At worst case scenario, I'm getting a draw, if not playing for a win now. As after rook takes, king takes, now I can push my pawn forward. Now there's theoretical rook and pawn endgames here. I guess Drew did not know that as he didn't play for it. I mean, I'm not too sure if he was still trying to play for a win here. Definitely should not be trying to do that. Rook h5, defending. And now what do? Pass pawns must be pushed. I found the right idea. a5, king over. Rook over to a1. It doesn't matter if he pushes forward here and check. I can simply take h2, king over, and I guard this queening square, and I have the two passed pawns, which the king cannot stop. So here, after rook to a1, he went ahead and played king to d3, and now it's just a simple matter of technique. a6, rook over, a7, rook over, and here I played a final move, rook to a4. This is a nice move of technique. So you could go ahead and play king h3, but this would actually lead to a draw, as after king to e4, king takes, this is not the position you're looking for. You don't want the king to get into the game here. So the idea of rook a4 is simply cutting off the king from actually doing anything purposeful in this position. Now if you go king to e3, which he did not play, you can simply play pawn to f5. This king will hold off these pawns, and now I'm just going to push this pawn all the way to make a queen. When the rook takes queen, and yeah, this king is just in the perfect position to stop it, and I am up an extra rook, so those pawns will fall. So here we try king to c3. Pass pawns must be pushed. I still got that same idea. f5, king over, rook over, king over, rook over, king over, push that pawn, king over, rook over, and at this point he went ahead and resigned. Now this was a pretty hard game. Again, this probably should have been a draw, but Jude pushed way too hard in this game, and unfortunately just got the better of him. He's a really nice guy. I had a lot of fun with him, and if you want to check out the next game, here, after our hour-and-a-half game, I was like, my girlfriend's sitting here, I gotta go. Let's go ahead. I was like, thank you for the game, I've gotta go. But he pulls over his clock, he's like, one more game. So if you want to see that one, go ahead and check out the next video. If you haven't already, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.